I'm Ian Wagdin from BBC R&D. We've been involved in the accelerators for quite a while. I was involved in some of the 5G ones, in the responsive narrative factory one with Bruce and Rude and those guys last year, and then also with this one. And this was really something that came about from a lot of the broadcasters kind of getting together, ourselves, Sky, Warner, DAZN, TV2, where we kind of started to look at what we were doing in our cloud workflows and what we were doing with our remote workflows, which was very much a kind of reactive sort of problem-solving exercise that we did to get us through COVID, but it wasn't a properly engineered, rigorous solution. One of the questions we asked ourselves is the way we're doing remote workflows the right way, or are there other ways that we can consider? And at the same time, a lot of the cloud vendors, a lot of the telcos were kind of coming up and talking to us about this magical thing called edge compute. And we was kind of scratching our heads going, well, what is edge compute? What does that mean for us? How can we deliver it? And there was this kind of industry kind of wanting to know what the innovation would be. And then when we sort of got together, I think it was actually pre-Kickstart last time, and it was sponsored by the SVG, Sports Video Group, kind of called us together, and they're here. Brilliant. Good to see you. And so they kind of pulled together a round table, and we kind of got together, and then all these participants, AMD, thanks to John, Microsoft, who I don't think are here, TechX, they've done a sterling job. I'm not going to name everyone, but you can see Limitless on there, and people who are kind of really interested in sort of driving this question forward. And we sort of came up with this problem statement. It was an interesting animation. Which was to sort of be able to dynamically move our live media processing stages between the cloud and edge, using compute at the event, to do it in such a way that operators don't notice, and also to think about how we deploy our software. So there's a big piece of work at the moment in the EBU called the Dynamic Media Facility. That's really important, and it's effectively looking at how we deploy software workflows. So as vendors move from kind of big hardware solutions, we're moving to more software solutions. And quite a lot of the time, it's just taking stuff that's already developed in software, and then they pick it up and they stick it on a virtual machine in the cloud, and then they give you exactly the same offering as if it was running on local tin. But that's perhaps not quite what we need as end users. So we were kind of scratching our heads a little way through that. So we kind of came up with actually what is our challenge, what are our sort of proof of concept objectives. So there's this mix of on-site remote working. We should be able to choose as facilities providers or broadcasters where we want to operate from. It might be right that we do want to operate on location. It might be right that I want to operate from a broadcast centre, but increasingly as we kind of trying to attract talent, we might want to have people working from home. We might want to have sort of distributed operations from across the globe, really. And so these functions need to be accessed from anywhere, and therefore it needs to be a single workflow from anywhere. You can't just sort of go, actually, I've got an OB workflow, and that's what I do in that space, but actually my broadcast center workflow is what I'm doing here, and I've got a cloud workflow, and it becomes very confusing, and we kind of do these kind of piecemeal things. But then we want to be able to do everything that we do, and some of that may be local, and some of it might be remote. So we want to be able to do video, we want to be able to do audio, we want to be able to do replay, we want to be able to monitor what's going on in the solutions. And we don't really want to worry too much about the technical details. I don't worry about the technical details, but trust me, there's been a lot of people, particularly at TechX and Google and Microsoft, who have been sort of really under the hood looking at how these things do it. And as I said earlier, it's not just pick it up and lift it and put it in the cloud. We want the choice. It might be private cloud. It could be any. The other thing is it needs to be cloud agnostic. So it's all very easy to sort of say, I'll use AWS, or I'll use Azure, or I'll use Google Cloud, or I'll use my own sort of private clouds and stuff like that. Actually, that shouldn't matter. That should be my choice, not driven by the vendor. And also, quite often when we look at what the vendors are doing, and apologies to any vendors in the room, they're very focused obviously on their verticals. So they want you to buy a single vendor solution with a vision mixer, a replay engine, a graphics engine, all from a single vendor. Well, from a broadcaster, I might have operations who want to use one vision mixer, a different replay engine, a different edit solution, a different audio solution. So therefore I need to be able to mix and match, and quite often you find that although the open APIs are out there, they don't necessarily do what I need to do across the whole ecosystem. So what did we come up with? This was our architectural drawing. It's very small. You probably can't see everything that's on there, but effectively what we've got here is some, and this is what we showed at IBC. We had in Bracknell, in TechX, we had some sort of camera and some video sources. That was coming into some network fabric, and then we were running at that point on a Azure cloud stack. We're now running it on Google just to prove we can run it on different clouds. And that's doing all of our kind of software stuff. So everything's sort of remaining local and on site. And then we can then put an internet connectivity into that, and that enables us to remote by just sending a multi-viewer or a program out, so we can operate from anywhere. But crucially, we're not sending all of our cameras up to the cloud. And anyone who's sort of worked in this space will know that actually probably your biggest challenge for remote connectivity, for remote working, is probably connectivity. And if you're a tier one location, or you're connecting broadcast centres, well, that's easy. You just bung in a dark fibre, you pay for it. But increasingly, we want to cover minority sports. We want to cover things in places where we don't have that type of connectivity. We've just got internet, and therefore we've got very constrained bandwidth. So how can we operate in that space? So we kind of came up with this idea of, okay, edge first. So we're operating on the edge. We've got constrained bandwidth. We can work anywhere. And then underpinning all of that, we suspect there's a huge sustainability saving here. So we're not building, our ultimate vision is we just send a rack of kit, as we've done here. We bought half a rack of kit in. That's operating quietly over there in the corner. We don't have to send an OB van with a vision mixer and a specialist thing that's built to do 50 channels of video. We can commission it, and it's running 4 channels at the moment. If I just want to spin it up with 5 channels, you know what, I'll just buy another license to put 10, 20, 30 channels on. And from a broadcaster perspective, that's really important, because I can then send that to the cloud, and it means that if I'm doing something for the BBC and ITM want to do the news coverage, you know what, they can operate on the same stack, because actually they can just run their software with the same sources. In theory, that's where we'll get to. So today's demo, I'll just talk you through this quickly, which is that we've got this the Google Cloud piece, which is what is it, Chris? You gave me the name for it, didn't you? Which was Google Distributed Cloud. The thing that I learned about working with engineers on this project is that these 3-letter abbreviations can really get you. I think we spent half an hour on a call once going, and I just had to say, guys, what do you mean? What does it mean for me? And that's the bit that actually is really key for these accelerators, is that we can ask those silly questions and just go, yeah, but does that do what I need it to do? But we've got the 2 cameras that are here over there. They're connected in via NDI. We've got a pan-tilt zoom camera. That's all going into the edge compute, which is located over there in the corner. Liam over there is operating our vision mixer. He's there. That's because he wanted to come today. I tried to persuade him to not to come and to sit at home, but he insisted on being here for some reason. But he's going to be sort of doing the operation. But we can also then send this stuff out to the cloud. And I'd encourage you to sort of go and have a look at that. So I'm now going to do the really dangerous bit. So those of you who've ever tried to do a live demo at IBC when you've just got one person watching you at a booth and it doesn't quite work, all right, I'm doing it for a room full of 200 people, all of whom are brilliant engineers. So I'm hoping that if I say to the guys over there, can we switch to the live output, we'll see me on the screen. There we go. And the point of this really is to show that one of the workflows we really wanted to look at was, okay, what happens to the big screen stuff in the venue? Liam's going to probably vision mix between the wide shot and the local and the pan-tilt zoom. I can't see it, so I don't know how in sync I am. I suspect that I'm out of sync because we're feeding it through an HDMI distribution that's then going through all of these kind of big screen type monitors. But the latency, actually, if you want to kind of go and look at the localized latency that we're running over there, it's probably significantly better, Liam, I would imagine. He's nodding at me. We've got pan tilt zoom, so we can do remote camera control within that kind of latency bit. I don't know if you're, is that moving over there, the pan tilt zoom? Hey, look at that. There is, yeah, so, but Liam's got far better control of it. But ultimately, this is where we've kind of got to. We had this vision. We've sort of validated it in the lab, and we've now built a sort of test rig. We've verified it in the lab. Our next stage that we're going to talk about after lunch with John is where we want to go next with this, what our ambition for this is. But you're going to have to wait. Because if I tell you now, I'll get told off for going over my pitch time. And I'm conscious that actually we're slightly ahead of lunch. But anyone who wants to kind of know more about it, come and see me. I'm just going to call out a few people because the guys from TechX, so Ben's over there, Ollie's over there. There's a few others. I'm not going to mention Stephen Clee because he's just sales and he'll where has he gone? But yeah, go and talk to them about actually how it works technically. If you want to know more about the dynamic media facility, Paola and the EBU guys are over there and Pete's over there. So they know more about really what's going on in the sort of dynamic media facility. If you want to know more about the sort of software type applications that we're running on at the moment, you can speak to Liam. I will say one final thing though, because this is running really just as software and in the edge, I can deploy other tools on it as well. So rather than what I would have if I just had my kind of crazy, single vision mixer, I can do things like run HTML graphics. So I think Liam, if Liam pushes the button at some point, there we go. Look, some HTML graphics just come up there as well. So that's something I said to them this morning, any chance of putting some bit of graphics on there with an HTML engine, because it's just software in the cloud, we can just kind of spin that through. And obviously there might be other services that I want to run because it's just software. I can run AI to do speech to text. I can, so I very much think that in a constrained area, the idea of kind of sharing collaboration, the ideas of sustainability, a lot of this can kind of come together with this type of workflow. And we don't have to build big trucks anymore. We just have to send compute power to where we want to produce stuff. And it will work in exactly the same way. So thank you for that. I don't think I've got any more time. John, was there anything you wanted to add in my...
We can talk more later.
We'll talk more later, but thank you.
Fantastic.